And welcome to another edition of the Bleed Los Podcast. This week's podcast is presented by our partners at BetOnline. BetOnline is the fastest and easiest way to wager on all of your sports, contests, and events with first-to-market odds and lines. Find reviews and news for every league, including Major League Baseball, the NFL, the NBA, NHL, combat sports, esports, and even golf. BetOnline continues to be the top online resource for all of your sports info, from live in-game betting, props, and futures. If you head on over to BetOnline today or use your mobile device to join today and make your first sports bet, if you use our promo code, which is BLEAV50, BLEAV50, you will receive a 50% welcome bonus on your first deposit. BetOnline, where the game starts. I'm really excited about this week's guest because it's a guy that doesn't do a lot of media as a whole. And we're super honored and humbled that he would join us for a few minutes to chop it up about your Los Angeles Dodgers. The president and CEO of the Los Angeles Dodgers, Stan Kasten, stops by the Carne Asada. We're very excited, a guy that does not do a lot of media, and we're very humbled that he would join our little podcast. President and CEO of the Los Angeles Dodgers, your Los Angeles Dodgers, Stan Kasten. Stan, how you doing?
I'm doing great, Alonzo. Good to talk to all of you guys today.
Yeah, we've been looking forward to it. You know, I just on a personal note, Roger, when we started all this, we jokingly put a list together of people we wanted on. And you were on there, and you were a part of the. We probably will never get him on. So I'm biting my tongue pretty hard right now. So I appreciate you joining us.
You need to aim higher than that. So now, what are you going to do now that you've accomplished your goals? I mean,
that's why you always make more goals, right?
Okay.
So I wanted to ask you. It's been a decade since Guggenheim took over the Dodgers as far as the ownership group goes. And I know they brought you on as the president, you know, when the sale closed and all that stuff. And something that I've always wondered, and I haven't really heard anything out there that clarifies it, is what kind of got you guys in the decision, I guess, the decision that was made to have the philosophy that the Dodgers have from the top down. And I know it starts with you because I know you've had success elsewhere as well. But as far as the data goes and even the culture as far as the club goes, like where did that come from, and when did Guggenheim make that decision to kind of have that be the operational mantra of the Dodgers, if you will?
Well, while I was doing this, putting this together, I was spending a lot of time looking at a lot of different things, but the way we run today is consistent with what I've always felt about running franchises, as I've done before, or companies. You know, we focus on several critical things. We focus on our product, we focus on our customer, we focus on our brand. And in the sports world, in the sports translation of that, that means your product, which is your team, your customer, which is the stadium experience, and all the other ways we reach out to you. And your brand is our community relations effort. So we said that the first day we got here, that's what we were going to do. Mark Walter and I were looking at things. Once I left Washington, I considered a number of things, but I got together with Mark, and we were looking at the Astros because they were for sale at that time. But then someone whispered in my ear that, hey, Stan, something's going to happen with the Dodgers. And Mark and I looked at each other and said, whoa, that's a horse of a different color. And so we threw ourselves into that. But the game plan would have been the same no matter where we were. We articulated it, again, on the first day that we got here. I am proud that we have owners that have lived up to the commitments we made on that very first day. I can't tell you how rare that is, but it's true of our ownership, and it's true of our management philosophy here. And as you see, it's worked out really well for us, for our fans, for our community. And I'm very proud of all of that.
Yeah, and needless to say, it's panned out okay. You know, championship, couple World Series appearances, no big deal. With that too, though, I was curious. You know, there's a lot of talk always of the offseason with the Dodgers, right? As far as, you know, there's a lot of they're in on guys, right? Freddie Freeman was a guy as just an example from last year. But as far as like the resources go, you know, kind of who makes the decision as far as, hey, we're willing to invest this amount of resources to this guy, even if it might be a little, I don't know, I don't want to say exorbitant, but, you know, above market value in some cases, or, you know, a long-term deal. kind of who makes those decisions and what really goes into those decisions. We've heard Andrew talk a little bit about it, but obviously the buck stops with you. So I was curious on that end.
On all major decisions like that, Andrew and I and Mark all are intimately involved with each other in the thinking process. And as far as I'm concerned, if Andrew's okay with the talent and Mark is okay with the money, my job is then to do whatever I can to help make it happen. And that kind of works. That kind of works. Mark is the last word on money, especially when we do something you might call extravagant. But his philosophy has always been, let's build the product up. I've taken that ball and run with it. So has Andrew. And it has paid off for us. We've always felt that when we got here, we knew what the legacy was, and we were so proud to be a part of that legacy. We were going to come in and respect the history, respect the legacy, and honor all of that. But we were going to do it in a responsible way. And Mark has always been there when it came time to stretch. Mark has never said no, because he thinks, I think, Andrew thinks, if we do the right things here with the team, we'll be rewarded by the fans in terms of tickets and food and beverage and sponsorships and media and all the other things we need to make this work. And that's just how this has turned out so far.
No, absolutely. And perfect segue, because I know she's chomping at the bit. Alicia Del Valle, go ahead.
What? Stan, he says that with love, believe it or not.
I do.
Because I am such a fangirl. First and foremost, Dodger fan. And bravo to you and the team, because you have elevated the Dodger game experience. I couldn't even imagine what was coming for us. So thank you for that. I have relatives and friends from out of town. As soon as they come to LA, it's not the Disneyland. It's not the Santa Monica Pier. They want to go to a Dodger game.
Well, Alicia, I'm glad you said that, because my first time here in Dodger Stadium was 45 years ago on my honeymoon. Because when I came to Los Angeles, that was the first thing I wanted to see. So I know exactly what you're talking about.
Right. Well, thank you for that. I mean, just the families, the legacies, the traditions that you are carrying on, because that's how I fell in love with sports, with baseball, with Dodgers baseball, is my father. And I want to go back to that word invest, the investment. Considering your legacy and your history with Atlanta and all your success there and the ties you have there, when you came to Los Angeles, was that always a goal for you to bring Freddie Freeman to the Dodgers? Because he is just killing it right now. He's at the top of his game all over Major League Baseball. Was that always the plan of yours?
No, it wasn't. Our plan was to get better, always get better, whatever that takes. Andrew has a philosophy which is consistent with mine, to always be involved in anything, to always be exploring anything. His phrase is, I like to stay around the backboard in case something doesn't work out someplace else. I want to be right there. That is what happened with Freddie. But we were prepared to go into the season without him. We would have done something else if we needed something else. But I think we are opportunistic, and we don't have a lot of committee meetings here on something that's really intense and last minute. Andrew, Stan, Mark gets on the phone, we figure it out, and then move on. Now, Andrew's department, they have a lot of committee meetings. They do an extraordinary amount of homework, research on anything before it even gets to that point. But once it's something that Andrew is in favor of, we can make it happen quickly.
Awesome. So you stay prepared. You're ready for an opportunity, like a Freddie Freeman. Gotcha. That's a great life philosophy, right? Be prepared. And I would be remiss, as the only Latino Dodgers podcast, I have to ask about Julio Urias. Yeah. We're a little nervous. I mean, we don't want to think that far ahead because we're ready for the World Series. How consistent and how great has Julio been for the Dodgers organization, especially again this season? And this is a two-parter. Is there any hint you could give us about what is going to happen when his contract is up in a year or two?
We couldn't be happier about Julio. And listen, let me give you a little history. I was here my very first month on the job in June of 2000. We got here in May. So in June of 2012, Logan White, our then scouting director, was on a trip with my instructions under this new ownership to be as aggressive as we could be internationally. And on that trip, He said he found someone he thought was going to be great. And it was Yasiel Puig and Victor Gonzalez and a pitcher named Julio Urias. And we said, great, then go for it. And we did. And that worked out great for us. In all three cases, it worked out great for us. That was just part of the philosophy of being opportunistic and being aggressive. So we love our history with Julio. Has been here. It's 10, 11 years in our organization now. He has another year to go on this contract. I cannot tell you what will happen after that. You're asking me about the team, not even in 23, but in 24. So I don't have any answers for you today other than to say we're the Dodgers. We have to contend every year. We're going to contend in 23 and in 24. I don't know who the players will be, but I do know we're going to be contenders year in, year out. We are the Dodgers. That's what we expect, and I know that's what all of you expect.
I love it. I'm so grateful. That's it. Okay, I'm going to share I can go on and on, but I'm going to share the mic with my co-host. Go ahead, Juan.
Thank you, Alicia. Stan, you mentioned history, and to me, I really appreciate that you have embraced the Dodgers history. And I feel like you guys do a really good job of incorporating the past and making sure that those legacies stay alive. In particular, you have the Legends of Dodger Baseball, which honors, players in the franchise, both on and off the field. It's up at the top of the deck for anybody who wants to go see it. You guys have the Ring of Honor.
Also in the Center Field Plaza. And if you haven't been there, you should get there. So we do that there as well.
Exactly. And you have the retired numbers. You got Vin up there. You got Harin up there. My question is, the retired numbers, we all know that the requirement is to be in the Hall of Fame. There is an exception there with Junior Gilliam. But what would it take for that policy to change and retire a player's number that is not in the Hall of Fame? I mean, is that policy set in stone, Stan?
Well, let me say a couple of things. First of all, as I said to you, when we got here, we made a point of respecting our legacy, respecting our history. But we also were trying to be respectful to the policies that were in place before we got here. You mentioned the policy about retired numbers. So far, we have decided to retain that same policy. At the same time, we also retain the policy of not giving the number out. We're trying to be respectful. And this, by the way, cuts across the organization. Hundreds of policies that we try to respect. But there are changes from time to time. I can't say there isn't. Of course, there are. And we talk about these things and give them a good review from time to time. The last time we had a thorough review of things like this was probably pre-COVID. And COVID has thrown our timetable way off on a lot of things. So I can't say the policy won't ever change. I'm not going to tell you that. But for now, it's the policy that has been here for a while. We're living with it. And as to what the future holds, I don't have anything more to say today, but let's just wait and see.
Okay. That's fair enough. I mean, there isn't a specific player that would make you reevaluate that policy?
Like I said, let's just wait and see.
All right. So one guy who is in the Ring of Honor, and it's his last year. And as we are a all-Latino podcast, everybody involved in here is Latinos. Jaime Jarrín is very important, not only to our community, but I'll say to the whole world of baseball. My question to you is, this is his last year, but prior to you coming to the Dodgers, even before your time with the Braves, how aware were you of Jaime Jarrín?
I was aware of both Vin and Jaime, just knowing them casually, because I was with another team. So I'd see them when they came into LA, when they came into Atlanta or Washington. I'd see them when I would come out here. So I knew them casually. I certainly knew their body of work, particularly Jaime, and I knew how important he had been to the Dodger history in Los Angeles because of his connection to the Hispanic community. So I know his place. We have honored him, and no one deserves it more than him. He's a revered member of our family, will be forever, and that's why we have his microphone retired right up there on the Ring of Honor.
No, I mean, it's going to be sad because now you guys are creating a new legacy because you got Joe Davis, who just picked up from Vin, and nobody has complained about it. Everybody thinks Joe Davis just picks up right. So I'm very curious to see what you guys do with Jaime's legacy.
I told Joe that I may not be here, but I'm looking forward to the ceremony in the year 2073 when he passes Vin. And that should be a fun time for all of us. So I hope we're all there.
You know, we had Janet Marie Smith on the show, and she told us you were the one that said to her, "Hey, Dodger Stadium needs a front door." So this is your chance now to glow and take credit for that center field plaza, Stan. How did that come to?
Well, we had a lot of things we wanted to change, and in 2013 we did some of the behind-the-scenes stuff, like the locker room, but we also did purely fan things like expanding the concourses and updating the restrooms and building out some of the other entrances. But I thought what we were lacking, couple things. We were lacking kind of modern amenities that most new stadiums have, and food alternatives and history and video and all that. Plus, we don't have a grand entrance. And Dodger Stadium, of all stadiums, deserves a grand entrance befitting the grandeur of the stadium. And that, to me, was always something we were missing. We noodled it around and we realized, you know, what we could do to really knock it out of the park was to have fans greeted by Sandy Koufax and Jackie Robinson, which is how they are greeted now when you come in through that grand entrance. That's how you're greeted at Dodger Stadium, which is very fitting. It's also become such a great place for us to gather pre-game, during the game, after the game. And as I've said, Dodger Stadium is never going to be a new stadium, but it can be a 21st century experience. And with those 2 extra acres of fan amenities, I think we've done it. The reaction I've gotten from fans is extraordinary. And like a lot of things, it was very expensive, but I think it's going to pay for itself, as every investment we've made on this team has, because of the support we have from our fans, in no small part the Hispanic fan base. They're incredibly important to us. And I know we have a lot of our Hispanic fans out there every night. That's where the mariachis perform on Tuesdays. But we have pregame music there every night. It really is a good time. And if you haven't been there yet, if you just come to a game, look, it's the most beautiful stadium ever built to play or watch the game of baseball. And now it's even better. So by all means, get a chance and come experience the center field plaza.
No lies detected, right, Alonzo?
None seen, none heard. Joining us here for a few more minutes is the president and CEO of the Los Angeles Dodgers, Stan Kasten. Stan, you, and a little more to gloat about you. You're no pushover either, right? We talked, Andrew Friedman. We talked Janet Marie Smith. You've had a successful run yourself. I mean, those Hawks teams that you were over with Dominique Wilkins, I believe it was 450 win seasons, if I'm not mistaken.
I had more than that, but it doesn't matter.
I set it up and he hit it, so it worked out great. Yeah. And then also those Braves teams when you were there, kind of coming back to baseball. But I wanted to ask you, when it comes to the construction of a team, I know it takes a village to do all that work. You have a proven track record time and time again. How hard is it to more or less not get complacent? Because obviously that what it takes, what you got to do, and you also now know what it is to kind of get over that hill. With the Dodgers, for instance, they won that World Series. So how hard is it to not either to stay complacent and just to kind of keep going and grinding along?
Well, everyone on this team, everyone in this organization, we are dedicated to one thing, and that's winning it all this year. Every year, it's important. I don't think we have any challenge in fighting complacency, because I don't know, certainly there's no player or coach who feels complacent. Let me tell you, I expect to be in Arizona the next day or two, because we might clinch a division championship. Now you'll say, Stan, you've won lots of divisions. Why are you there? I'm there because it's important. It's important because there will be guys in that locker room that have never done this before. There will be guys in this locker room that may never have another chance to do it. And we should never be in this business so long that winning a division championship isn't incredibly meaningful. And that's how I feel. And I think Andrew, Doc, Mark, we all feel the same way. And I know every player feels that way. So we're looking forward to the next step, which is winning a division, and then at least 3 or 4 steps beyond that.
Right.
No, fair. And that's we've advocated that, as far as the players have obviously said that out loud, that the end game is a world championship, and the players have said that. We've said it as fans. Juan, I'm not going to throw you under the bus. He was worried about some stuff, but
I'm always worried. That's what Stan, can you please tell them that this is what a totally illogical fan worries about? I'm sure you guys worry about the same thing, right? You guys want to win every year.
Yeah, I'm not worried about. I'm not worried about our motivation. Not even for 1 second. So Juan, go ahead and worry about all the other things. You can cross that one off of your list.
Thank you, Stan. I appreciate that. That falls under the mantra in Spanish of "no pasa nada." Nothing's gonna happen. So he just proved the point. He just proved the point, Juanito.
I wish I had his composure. I mean, to be able to, I get it, and I'm glad that guys like Stan and Andrew are in charge of this team, and not some idiot like me that freaks out about like the littlest thing. I mean, Stan, how do you put up with that, with the fans' overreaction to everything?
I remind people. Any of you watch The Godfather? And you've all seen it.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
I remind people of that great scene from that hotel room in Havana where Hyman Roth is telling Michael Corleone about, his son was killed. He didn't take it personally. It was just business. And then he says the immortal words, hey, this is the business we've chosen. And so you guys, you come along with the job. This is the business I've chosen, and I just don't worry about it.
Hey, Alicia, I'm going to let you go, but did you have on your bingo card that Stan was going to do a Hyman Roth impression on our show?
I did not, but now it's elevated even higher because that is what
I use that a lot. I use that. I tell all our people when they're getting upset about too many little things, hey, this is the business we've chosen. Let's move on.
And it's a great.
And I remembered that from the day when Dad was running molasses, with Marlon Brando.
Yeah.
I love it. I love the swagger too. He doesn't just deliver the line; he acts it out.
Right?
Only because I'm on a Zoom on the radio, I don't bother.
And thank you for helping us with Juan and his tendencies to, think
catastrophize.
What's going to happen? Yes, doomsday. Yeah. We call him the Prince of Darkness because he likes to go straight to the worst case scenario. But over and over, season after season, since you all have taken over ownership, it has been just a joy. We're spoiled. I'm making a shirt right now that says spoiled in the Dodger logos because we are so spoiled as fans. So thank you. I love that we brought up, you are ready for winning another division, ready for the World Series. I love that Dave Roberts called it out in the beginning of the season. Did you know the skipper was going to do that? Were you all in? What was your reaction when Dave Roberts proclaimed, we are going to win?
If you know Dave, you'd be shocked if he didn't do that. The man is so upbeat and positive about everything. I will tell you this, what I say at the start of camp every year, which is consistent with what Andrew and Doc feel also, we expect to win every year. We are built to contend. I use the word contend, but I mean to win it all every year. We have the players, we have the coaches, we have the staff, we have the facilities to do that because, as I said, we're the Dodgers. So we come into camp every year expecting to win. Do I know Doc is going to promise it? I don't know, but that's just who he is. And he wouldn't be the same guy if he wasn't quite that passionate and enthusiastic. So we love that about Doc.
And we all here, we interact with the fans every week. We go live, and we've been discussing lately which teams we would prefer the Dodgers. Obviously, it's out of our control, but bear with us. This is what we do. We pod, we fantasize and we cringe and we get afraid. What, if any, are the teams that you want to see moving forward? I mean, again, the Tide of Atlanta, is that something you would want to see? Or are you looking forward? There's a lot of people, a lot of fans who want the revenge on the Astros. And I'm even thinking like the first round, let's get through that. Don't get one started. Are there any teams that you would prefer to see?
No, it doesn't work that way in the postseason. You just don't even try to predict that or plan for it or think something would be better than something else. It just doesn't work out that way. We have to beat all of them to get our ring. And so that's what we're going to do. We're going to beat all of them.
Prepared, and we're ready to go with you right there. See, Juan, don't worry, Juan.
No pasa nada, Juanito.
Look, Stan, do you know the 1985 NLCS?
Oh boy, here we go.
God. Here we go.
Yeah. What about
okay. That's the reason why I have trauma, and I don't know why it's so hard to understand when you see Jack Clark. I mean, years later, bless his heart, Tommy Lasorda, They asked him on the radio, why did you pitch to Jack Clark? And Tommy reacted like it just happened and went off his rocker.
Yeah.
That's the kind of fear, and I get it. That's what sports brings, right?
I knew there were some subjects I shouldn't bring up to Tommy. Jack Clark was one of them. Yeah.
There we go.
Stan, before we set you loose, I wanted to ask you two things. One, how a lot of Dave Roberts catches a lot of flack, right, with the fans and all that stuff, and
he's chosen,
right, right. But what I'm getting to though is we're all about giving people their flowers while they're here. And Dave Roberts, when it's all said and done, whenever he hangs it up, which is hopefully a very long time from now, is going to go down as one of the best that ever did what he's doing. How you deal with him on a day-to-day basis, and you mentioned a little bit ago, even a little bit about his personality. How special is Dave Roberts to everything that you guys are building?
Listen, the attitude, the passion, the sense of inclusiveness that he has brought to every day and to every player is a very important part of what we do. It's what makes this place such an attraction for fans and for players. Everyone wants to be with the Dodgers. Everyone wants to come here. When we're talking about players, the money has to be right too, but everyone wants to be a Dodger. I was thinking about this just today. My great teams in Atlanta, we had a great run, and their GM and manager are both in the Hall of Fame. I expect both my guys here to get there someday too. So yeah, he couldn't be more important and more special. And
you heard it from the man himself, the president and CEO, Stan Kasten. Last question. We meant, as you heard, we're about Latino culture, obviously, on this podcast. Is the only Latino podcast. We're all things Los Angeles, and we're all things tacos. So my question to you is, in Los Angeles, actually, it doesn't even have to be LA proper. It could be anywhere down that way. Where do you go get tacos, and what is your favorite taco?
Actually, I make them at home. I get myself some nice soft tacos, and I put my own ingredients in. I'm alone in town a lot. And so that's what I do. I don't go out for tacos, although Guisados is right on the street, right out here on Sunset, outside the stadium. I understand, and they must be great because the line is down the block whenever the game's over. But personally, I do my own at home.
Fair. Fair. Can I ask what kind of meat and what kind of tortilla you use?
Well, I don't use meat on mine. I'm sorry.
Oh, fair.
I just go cheese and a lot of veggies.
Fair. Well, no, we don't discriminate. We don't discriminate. Veggie tacos, fish tacos, meat to whatever, whatever to one's liking is. That's the move.
Okay. Burrito tacos, all of that is delicious.
That burrito bowl. I mean, that's all. We're inclusive here too. Just like Doc is. We're inclusive too.
Sometimes I use meat, but then I can't put cheese on it. That's a kosher thing, so I can't do that. But usually I just stay veggie just to keep it safe.
That's fair. Right. That's fair. Listen, Stan, I know I mentioned this before. You don't do a lot of these, so I really appreciate you taking the time to kind of give us a little bit of insight as well with what's going on with the organization. And again, we can't thank you as Dodger fans either enough for what you're continuing to do. So we can only wish you continued success, and hopefully we can do this again soon.
Yeah, we can. And again, all you can do for me is keep following, keep watching, keep supporting us, because that's what makes the engine run. The support of our fans is what keeps this going. So thank you.
No, hey Stan, who gave the order to kill Mo Green? Who gave the order? Nobody questioned it because it was all a part of business, Stan.
It's the business we've chosen, Juan.
And there you have it, ladies and gentlemen. Stan Kasten, President and CEO of the Los Angeles Dodgers. Again, thank you, Stan. We really appreciate you.
Thanks, guys. Bye.
You know what, guys? I didn't know what to expect with Stan, if I'm going to be completely honest with you, in part because he doesn't talk to hardly any media. And I loosely use media here because what the fuck are we? So the fact that he entertained us is that in itself is an accomplishment. But my biggest takeaway from it, there's two things. One, this dude doesn't like to lose. And he for sure makes a point to say that the culture, as far as the team goes, he knows that there's kind of achievements as you go along, right, along the way. But the end game is they know what the end game is they want to win. They want to win a World Series, much to Juan Ramirez's chagrin. They want to win a World Series every single year. But the other thing is he understands the fan base, right? And what I mean by that is he understands who's coming through the door. We talk a lot about it. Latinos, right? He understands that component of it, and he understands the importance of it. But he's also just aware. He's aware of the historical elements. He's aware of, the current day elements. Even with his successes, he was very, he in jest, I know he was a little glowful of it, but he's aware. I wasn't expecting that, if I'm being honest with you. But for him to be so involved was such a surprise for me. What did you guys think?
Hey, Alonso, real quick.
Yeah.
And we had Stan on, if you notice, what it says right there, episode 100. So we're thankful that we got Stan to be our 100th episode, a guest. So it's a pretty big deal to get Stan on. And we're really grateful that, the Dodgers allowed him to come on our show. Like you said, our little show. It's pretty special to get Stan on here talking about the Dodgers and what they've built over the last 10 years. And I'm super thankful for that, for what they're doing and what Stan doing in the Guggenheim Group. So really want to give the props to them and thanks to them.
I was going to do that at the end, but the reason I was saving that for the end is because you're burying the lead, because we talked to Stan Kasten today.
You guys.
I'm super thankful we talked to Stan Kasten today.
It's all, it's all good. Congratulations, gentlemen, on 100 episodes, because I'm the new kid in town. So that's pretty epic. And to have Stan Kasten as your anniversary guest, bravo, guys. I'm honored to be even a small little piece of that. And I did not know what to expect, because even when I tried doing my research and finding interviews with him, he does not do a lot, Alonso. You are correct. And there's a lot of people that talk about Stan Kasten and all of his accomplishments and successes. And that's pretty cool to hear it from the man himself. I like his mindset. I'm so glad we're on his team rather. And I'm looking forward to the future even more as a Dodger fan after speaking with him. So I'm good. I got nothing to worry about. Unlike some people, Juan.
Tough scene.
Look, first of all, it's our 100th episode, everybody. For everybody watching, I want to thank everybody who supported. I mean, this is our second season. For us to get to 100 episodes, Babyface, Alonso, I don't know when we first started doing this if you thought we'd get to 100.
No chance.
I'm always amazed at the number of people that listen to the show. We have a loyal fan base. I love that you guys reach out to us on social media. I love interacting with you guys on the live. That's been so fun. So for our 50th, we had Jaime Jardín, and for our 100th, we had Stan Kasten. For me, the biggest takeaway, and it just confirms everything, is that men are obsessed with The Godfather. And it's like, he was quoting The Godfather Part 2, and I told you guys this off the air. I don't think I'm ever going to be able to look at Stan Kasten and not see Hyman Roth anymore. I mean, to me, I will be referring to him as Hyman Roth from this point on. But it just cracks me up that guys will always find a way to compare whatever they're doing to somehow The Godfather. Alicia, do you not, in your interactions dealing with all these machistas, how many times have you had somebody drop a Godfather reference and you just roll your eyes?
I don't roll my eyes. I'm one of I like The Godfather. I prefer Godfather 2. That's my favorite, but it's all the same. It is that legacy. I do agree with you, though. A lot of men in these industries I've worked in, Hollywood and sports and news, all reference Godfather and Scarface back to back. That's the jam. So,
I do a lot of Scarface, and it drives my wife nuts.
Yeah.
You need people like me, so you can point your fingers and say, there goes a bad guy.
Except I don't do the accent because I can't do the accent. I know my strengths and weaknesses, and it's not imitating
how cool
anymore.
was Stan's like swagger when he was? If you
He
guys,
did, he went in.
if you're
he
only
went in.
listening, take a moment and watch this podcast because he delivers. It really is how he believes.
Well, but it is really. Go ahead, Babyface.
I'll say I have a confession, but I'm not going to say it because you guys probably won't let me live it down.
You've never seen The Godfather, have you?
I didn't say that.
All right. What's your
Cool.
confession?
He's never seen The Godfather. Confirmed. No lies have been detected.
Really?
No Godfather, no Godfather, no Scarface.
You're almost 50 years old, bro. You're almost 50, and those were like peak movies when you were like in high school, I think.
Oh my gosh, we're gonna have to have a
we're gonna have to watch party.
We're gonna have to do a Godfather.
We can't do a watch party for the playoffs anymore because we have to watch the Godfather and Scarface.
You know, and it was just the anniversary of the Godfather. It is the 50th anniversary. We should have taken you to the theater. This is information you should have shared with us a long time ago.
Many moons ago.
I have them on DVD. So.
I have them on Blu-ray. So
yeah,
I mean,
like it's gotta happen. Oh my goodness, baby!
I mean,
do you remember back in the day?
I know some of the quotes, but like,
do you remember back in the day with MTV Cribs when you go to every rapper's house and be like, oh, every rapper has Scarface in the house. Everyone should have Scarface and the Godfather series in some capacity in their house. How dare you, Roger?
Babyface just pulled a Peter Griffin from Family Guy. I did not care for the Godfather.
in my defense, so Alonso's never seen the Johnny Utah movie, right? So.
Point Break.
Point Break, yeah. And he lives in Utah.
But at least I've seen the classics, like The Godfathers and Scarface.
I am a huge Point Break. I would put that in the classics.
That is a classic.
I love Point Break.
People, anytime. Well, before okay. Let's talk about movies another time. Well, but the other thing I took away from Stan, though, I didn't realize how involved he was day to day until he kind of made that point, which is good, right? Like you hear, like for instance, I asked him the way I asked him, about the Freddie Freeman sweepstakes, just as an example, and because a lot of people just talk shit to talk shit, right? Oh, well, the Dodgers are in on Freddie Freeman. What the hell? But what I liked is how he pulled the curtain back a little bit and kind of give us an insight into Andrew Friedman's philosophy. He's always stuck under the backboard to catch whatever opportunity might be there. And that's kind of a testament to the success of the Dodgers. So for all you people talking shit, that's why they're so good.
But what surprised me was when he said if we wouldn't have gotten Freeman, we would have gotten someone else and whatever else we needed. So that made me really wonder who else would they have gone after?
Well, and the reason I didn't want to follow up, if you will, I didn't want to, because he doesn't strike me as the kind of guy that's going to show us his cards anyway, right?
Oh, yeah, he wouldn't have answered.
No, but I mean, even at that, it's kind of crazy to think that, when you hear all these insiders or whatever that are saying the Dodgers are in on so and so, it sounds like that's all true, and you consider. I mean, it just sounds like what it comes down to is Mark says yay or nay on the money, and that's about it. That's kind of crazy to think about. That's just ultimately what it is. It's just that. Not even anything more of in the culture. Andrew Freeman's talked about the culture. That's a big part of it. But
hasn't every guest we've had on that is new to the Dodgers or been with the Dodgers, they all talk about how much they enjoy the culture, appreciate, and notice how special the Los Angeles Dodgers culture is. I mean, and there you see it. We saw it firsthand, hearing it from Stan Kasten himself. So.
But the biggest thing is, my man basically said no pasa nada. And for people like Juan,
because he's Hyman Roth, that's why.
But he understood. But the fact that he's self-aware enough to say we are going to contend year in and year out. Even when Alicia asked him about Julio Urias, right? He answered. For me, the biggest takeaway wasn't the Julio Urias component. It was, I don't even know who's going to be on this team in 23. I don't even know who's going to be on this team in 24. But what I do know is we're going to be contending. And that's the ultimate kind of end-all, be-all is whatever it takes to win, that's what the Dodgers want to do. And the other thing that I took away, it's kind of wild to think about it, and it's just a weird irony. They were looking at buying the Astros. So the Astros could have had this exact same formula and pain, right? Where everyone else is kind of wanting to be the Dodgers. There could have been another franchise that could have been like this, and that's crazy to think about what could have been with the what ifs. You know what I mean? Well, you like what ifs, Juan, so you understand that better than anyone.
Well, I want to know who gave him the tip off that the Dodgers were going to be for sale. That's what I want to know. I mean, he said we were going to buy the Astros, but a little birdie,
it's a billionaires. Billionaire boys club. It's a small, very select club.
Yeah.
Well, look,
and he'll never tell you either.
We benefited from it. We benefited because we got those guys. But I found it very interesting that he told us that he shared that with us.
Before we wrap this up, Juan, I sincerely want to know: did that conversation make you feel any better?
Yes.
Yeah, I mean it does. I mean,
you don't sound too. You don't
no,
sound too.
It does until I see them blow a game, and then I'm going to lose my shit again because it's all coming again. It is all coming.
You can't win every game.
And look, the regular season, it's okay. It's when we get to the playoffs, that's where and look, Kasten knows it, but here's the luxury. You know, that's why he's in the position that he's in, right?
Right.
Is because he can control his emotions. He can go ahead and set that aside. I cannot separate my emotions from the Dodgers. And, you know, have I actually tried to separate my emotions? No. I wonder if I could separate my emotions and just be like, it doesn't faze me. You know who I can't separate my emotions from? The Raiders. When the Raiders lose like they did, it doesn't faze me.
Wait, you can do no pasa nada with the Raiders, but you can't with the Dodgers?
I can do no pasa with the Raiders, but with the Dodgers, man, to the Lakers, for a certain extent, the Lakers I do get a little, but nowhere near how much the Dodgers hurt me.
You would be a fantastic case study for some behavioral science.
We're gonna have to start a GoFundMe and get a therapist and a vacation to get him through the playoffs.
Yeah. I think it's just because I love baseball more. Like baseball's my favorite sport, and that's why. Yeah. It hurts me more if the Dodgers, whatever like, there was a meme that I saw the other day for football people. Apply it to baseball for me, where it's like, oh, it's the first game of the season. Now for the 17 next weeks, it'll determine what my mood is going to be. And that's how it is with the Dodgers, man. I'm just like, come the playoffs, I'm going to be on edge. Because I want this team to win. I don't want to hear anymore about the Mickey Mouse World Series ring. I don't want to hear any of this. I want to just sit there and be like, we won, now what?
Well, if
now
it's any
what are you guys going to
consolation,
say?
Stan Kasten fully expects them to win. So I don't know what else to tell you to make you feel better.
Hey, man, I mean, go ahead, babyface.
No, Juan, I was going to say, and there's still going to be haters, and they're going to be, you know what, the season started later. So they'll come up with something to try and say like, oh yeah, Dodgers didn't really win that year or whatever.
Well, here's the other reason I want them to win, because now it'll be twice that the Dodgers have taken the longest route, even though they have a bye technically. But this will be twice now that they've had to go through 3 rounds to win a World Series.
And
no other team's going to be able to say that. No other team in baseball is going to be able to say that.
Well, and even that, it doesn't matter, because at the end of the day, the thing that matters is the chip, bro. That's it. If you get the chip, then that's all that matters. And you know what? Stan fully expects to, and I like how he clarified his statement. When I say contend, I mean win. So for him to be that candid about it, can't thank him enough. But I also like that he isn't complacent. That was one thing that I've always been curious of, because, you know, some franchises, you know, they think they have it down to a science and they don't think they need to improve. And Stan was like, nah, we don't do that because we expect to contend. So it's honestly, it was, again, like Alicia said, when we found out we were going to do this, I started doing research. There was like 5 like in print interviews that he's done, and that was it. And even then, those didn't really give you kind of any insight aside from I don't even want to call it generic, but just the very kind of master class, you know, way that those sorts of guys go about answering those questions. Yeah, no, and the other thing is he gets it. He gets it. He gets it. And for Dodger fans, that's, for me, I feel a lot better now that I know that inside of it too, because obviously we knew the Dodgers got it because look at the guys that they've made better, but they get it as a whole from top to bottom. And man, that's scary to think though, that the Dodgers really are just sitting there behind the backboard waiting for whoever, and that guy could be a superstar like Freddie Freeman.
And here's the thing. They've been here 10 years, right?
Yeah.
10 years. And from the moment they took over, they said, we are going to contend, you know, win every year. And so when they first got here, what they do? They traded for Agon, Punto, and Beckett, right? And they had to rebuild the farm system because the farm system was like bare bones, right? So they did that while still making playoffs. They've been, what is it now? 10 years, right? 10 years in a row in the playoffs. Yeah. So every year, what other team can say like they do that? No, they break down. Look at the Nationals. They won a championship, what was it, 2 years ago? That team is unrecognizable from when they won. Yeah. I mean, teams don't do this. Teams don't contend year. That's why, like Alicia said, we're so spoiled. Every year we're expecting to win. Every year. Like this is what this ownership said they were going to do, and they continue to do it. And he even went out next year and the next year after that. We're going to contend.
Well, and Stan, if you're listening to this, I don't know if you are, but thank you, man. We appreciate you stopping by with the Godfather references and giving us a little bit of insight, pulling back the curtain. This episode of the 100th episode of the Bleedlos podcast. And again, can't thank you guys enough for supporting the thing. And we enjoy interacting with you guys, doing all that stuff. Was presented by BetOnline. If you head on over to BetOnline's website, which is betonline.ag, and use our promo code BLEAV50, BLEAV50, you will get a 50% welcome bonus on your first deposit. BetOnline, where the game starts. Don't bet on the Raiders, Juan. Don't bet on the Dodgers. That's bad for you, man. Just don't do that. But thank you guys. Seriously, it means a lot to us that you've joined us this far in. So hopefully for the next, so that'd be 200, we get someone that's, as Stan said, we got to shoot a little higher. I don't know who that is at this point, if I'm being honest with you, but we'll figure something out. Oh, that too. También. I mean, there's a many names though. There's many names, but either way, we got to thank you guys, because if it wasn't for you guys, we wouldn't be here. And with the support and the following and all that jazz, we really appreciate you guys. So thank you a ton. And again, thanks to Stan Kasten for stopping by. But we will catch you on the next one. And go Dodgers. No pasa nada, Juan.